Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are everybody today? Thank you, Rolandus. So now I'm Mark Ghoriafi. I am known in the industry as Mr. Premium, the premium domains broker at Sedo.com. And yes, so today, myself and another gentleman who's on his way up shortly from above.com, Nathan, we are two reputable, successful, and headline making brokers in the domain names industry. And of course, just going to be really asking you some questions, looking for some questions from you so to get the conversations going. And if you obviously want any hints, tips about the best way to negotiate, any opportunities that you may wish for brokerage representation to sell your names or to, of course, acquire your names, it is always our pleasure to hear. But ultimately, the topic today is brokerage, buying and selling premium domain names. And here comes Nathan.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, sorry, I'm fashionably late. I was just talking to Larry Fisher, one of the legends of, domain brokering. So it was really cool to actually have some time to have a chat with him. So Mark, how do you want to kick this off? I want to keep it really free flowing.
Yeah, I just kind of said at this point, well, first of all, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do?
So my name's Nathan. I'm the general manager of the above.com marketplace, and I head up our brokerage team and I'm based in Australia.
And yes, I just already did my little introduction there, but just to reiterate, I'm Mark Ghoriafi, known as Mr. Premium. I'm the premium domains broker at Sedo.com. On an average month, I'm doing around 700,000 to a million in sales. Some months slightly more, some months slightly less. This past August, last month, I did about 650,000 in sales. The month before, about 1.5 million. So consistency is key to success to keep that momentum flowing. But I always like to say politeness, positivity, and respect is the way to start every conversation. And if you've got a domain for sale, and you are approached by a buyer who may come at the conversation with a more negative approach, or maybe they've got what you might consider a lowball offer, don't reply in kindness of their attitude. Reply with extra politeness, because the way you start every conversation, the way you start every negotiation, the way you start is going to have a cloud of positivity above and ultimately the best chance to lead to success.
Yeah, that's one really, a big thing that I try and do. So as a broker, I'm managing, anywhere from 30, 50, 100 offers a day that are coming in. And, I'm always vetting them. I'm always seeing researching the buyer, looking for, that key thing that's going to help me get a deal done. But the most important thing for me is picking up the phone and actually speaking to them, because people don't remember what you say to them. They remember how you make them feel. And in a negotiation, if you take, 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes to have some small talk with them, it's actually going to help you get a deal done a hell of a lot quickly. Me and Mark, we haven't done it together yet, but we've spoken about, that's a keyword, yet. So exclamation mark after that. But the thing is, it's the relationship there. It's the honesty. Because in what we do, we don't get paid unless a deal's done. So you as a seller, if your name doesn't sell, you don't get paid. If your name doesn't sell, we don't get paid. And the buyer doesn't get the name. So it's all about trying to navigate, and dance around each particular party to find that level of a deal that a seller will accept, may not love, but they'll accept. And the fact that the buyer can actually get to that.
Exactly. And you said a key word there, dance. Domaining is a dance. It's an art form. And I think that everybody in a position of selling a domain, or if you're wanting to buy a domain, it works both sides. You want to take lead in that dance. You want to be the one that is taking lead. But sometimes you've got to give to receive. You don't want to give too much information away, naturally. You don't want to leave money on the table as well. So you've got to be able to navigate, as you said, through those waves and find the right path of success. And again, if you feel that maybe your strengths are better somewhere else, for example, if you don't come to me to do your taxes. Trust me, you'll end up with a bad outcome there. You don't want me to do any mathematics for you. 1 + 1 is 5 to me. But if you, well, when it comes to domain sales, I can calculate. Don't worry about that. But when it comes to negotiations, I do, and I say this with confidence and not arrogance, I am a very strong negotiator. I feel that the reputation of a broker is key to you. You, even if you want to work with someone who's got a great reputation, you also need the rapport with that broker, because you are ultimately going to be in partnership with them however many months. So maybe whether it be 6 months, 12 months, or beyond, you are going to be working together in that partnership. Maybe, yes, the broker's going to be doing all the heavy lifting and doing the outbounding, sending the emails, making the phone calls, doing the social media. But at the same time, you need a good relationship and a trustworthy relationship with whom you are working in order to achieve, so you can have those puzzle pieces fit together. And I think any good broker, any great broker in this industry, such as Nathan at above.com, myself at Sedo.com, we are here to succeed for you. And we're not here to always achieve just the bare minimum. Sometimes the bare minimum, the happy, satisfactory level of selling, is the best we can achieve depending on a negotiation, but we're here to achieve the maximum return on investment for you. And you need to be able to entrust us with that responsibility. So do your due diligence and figure out who the right fit of a broker is for you, whether that be me at Sedo, Nathan at Above, or another brokerage in this industry.
Yeah, one thing is, then I'd actually, just, shift the conversation a little bit. You know, speak to people, sellers, buyers, because, I know Mark represents buyers as well. Yeah. So I do as well. So we both represent buyers and sellers at different points. So the process is very similar, on how we do it. But the key thing is, we're dealing with, Mark and myself and other things. What you're actually paying for is the years and years and years of relationship that we have in market. So if you have a buyer, say for example, argument's sake, I just seen a gentleman over there, Kevin from CSC. When Kevin, comes to me, or if you come to Mark, we know that they're gonna work in the best interest of their client, and I'm gonna work in the best interest of my client to get a deal done. And it's that trust. Trust is a really big thing. It's that trust relationship. That's what you're actually paying for, because we're here to facilitate, so negotiate, take payment, deliver the domain name, and then pay you. So you look at it's a one-stop shop. So you're paying for that. It's the relationship that's actually the most important part of the process, because without that relationship, it's going to extend the process tenfold, because you don't know that person, they don't know you, they're feeling you out, they're trying to understand, how your mind works. We've already done that. And, I do that on a consistent daily basis when an offer comes in. I'm trying to learn about that person. I'm trying to understand who the buyer is, because one thing that I generally find is I might do one deal with someone, 3 or 4 months later, I'll get a call from them. Hey, can you help me acquire Y? Or can you help me with these particular names to sell? Because they don't remember what I say to them. They remember how I make them feel. So that's the really, really important thing to keep in mind.
And backing off right of that, that's when I said at the beginning, politeness, positivity, and respect. Because even if you can't get a deal done today with somebody, or whether it be representing a client, whether it be trying to sell to somebody, if you have those three elements, the positivity, the politeness, and respect, you are now leaving the door open, leaving that window open for them to return to you in the future and try and have that success or have another success. But at this point, let me just ask, is there anyone here that would like to ask a question to me or Nathan or both of us? Is there anything that you would like any insight on, any knowledge on, or just have a general question about? Please.
It's a simple question. Do you presumably have standard contracts, and do you work are they normally exclusive for a period of time? How does it work?
Well, I'll answer first. Yes, specifically with I'm not going to speak, of course, on behalf of Nathan and above, but at Sedo, yes, we do 6-month exclusivity contracts where my sole responsibility is to outbound in order to put in that passion, patience, and persistence in the pursuit of success for you. So it would be a standard Sedo 6-month exclusivity agreement with the option to extend for a further 6 months after that point. And my sole responsibility is to try and sell, but more importantly, not just to try and sit and back and wait. Why wait? Go create. Go out there and create opportunities. Go out there and find opportunities. But do the daily social media marketing, do the phone calling, do the emailing, and do anything else. Like at the conference, the papers in front of you that I've just put in front of you now, these are names that I exclusively represent under brokerage. So ultra premium or premium oneword.coms, .co.uk's, .de's, .ai's. These are the type of assets I focus on. But the biggest creme de la creme successes, of course, naturally are the .coms. But I've just recently sold law.ai for 350,000, double.com for just under $1 million for 980,000, pack.com for 600,000. Those were all under exclusive contracts with us for 6 to 12 months.
So, short answer is yes. We do offer, exclusivity. It can be 3 months, can be 6 months, can be 12 months. It really depends on the exclusive as well. So, above.com, our marketplace. If you want to manage a lead, we offer a 3% market commission rate if the name is not a CCTLD and it requires extra work to change the ownership. That's 10%. But yeah, so we offer that. So you can self-manage through above. So we have a lot of clients that do that. Sometimes they might ask me, they'll email our team and it gets to me. So I head up the team and they'll ask for help. But, also do non-exclusive on bigger names where I'll work the name for you. It's very much based on trust. It just depends on the situation. So it's a case-by-case basis in short.
Any other questions? Please don't be shy. We're all friends here. No? Uh,
Hello. Yeah, obviously you're very successful at selling domains and names. You must have multiple strategies for doing so. Which one is your best?
Very good question. So I think touching upon what Nathan said earlier, relationship building is key to success. 100% in my opinion, relationships come above all else. So a few weeks ago, I was representing a name. I reached out to somebody and they replied, they showed interest. We had not yet discussed numbers. We had not yet discussed anything to do with the transaction. They just showed interest. So my first call of duty was to research. Of course, not always. You can find out who the identity is, but on this occasion, I knew who the buyer was. I was able to do my research into them. And I noticed through looking at their Instagram page that they recently acquired a small sailing yacht. And so lots of their pictures were about sailing and yachts and obviously a very big boat enthusiast. And I just so happen to live in South Florida and me and my wife live at the marina itself. So I've got some beautiful mega yachts surrounding where I live. So instead of my introduction just being your usual email reply, I ended up confirming if they were okay to speak by WhatsApp. I did a video recording with the backdrop behind me of the boats. And I wanted to create that positive environment and positive atmosphere of conversation. I didn't mention the boats. I just had that as my backdrop, knowing that that would interest them because I knew that that was already an interest for them. And that really created the foundation of positivity in conversation. Why? Because the first 15 minutes of that call, this wonderful gentleman nonstop talked about his love for boats, how his family went out there, and it just created that emotion of positivity speaking with me. I didn't create the positivity. He was talking about his emotions with his family and his loves of his life, and that now associates with me. And I was able to then further the conversation into business now with a foundation of positivity at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I've got a few similar stories, but one thing that I like to do is if I'm, outbounding and I'm looking for an ideal home for a particular name, is because a lot of the bigger stuff, we're dealing with really big organizations, multi-threads. They've got, like marketing departments, they'll have finance departments, they'll have, operations departments, lots of different partners. So you've got to learn a potential organizations, how they flow. So their chain of command. And one thing is when I make initial contact, I like to do as much research on the actual person who I'm trying to get in contact with. Because, if I'm cold calling them or if I'm sending them a cold email, I like to know a little bit of information about them. Because one thing that I've learned over the years in previous past sales jobs is 9 times out of 10, people are proud of where they come from or where they live. So if you can find something out about them, whether it's, as Mark said, the yacht, you referenced the yacht. You, a lot of things that I've done is I'll spend half an hour researching that particular place because I live by the motto, every single day I need to learn something new. So I'm learning that, and then I'm putting it into fruition, and that's helped me many, many, many times in getting deals over the line. That, to be honest, I didn't think we were going to be able to get a deal done. And it goes back to people don't remember what you say; they remember how you make them feel. So that's the the real power. But one thing that I was just going to add, just to take that question a little bit further. So favorite domain sale, like actually, no, change it a little bit more. The craziest domain sale that obviously can disclose. Mine was, I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a bit, I was looking after Palestine.com. Now, obviously, it's very topical at the moment with everything that's going on in the world. But back then, I had a $50,000 offer come in. Now, at the time, that domain was getting 50, 60 offers a year. 99.99% of those, offers were not legitimate. So, I obviously had a look at the offer. The offer come from El Salvador. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So instantly, it got my brain going. Yeah, I think this is not a legit offer. So I let it sit there for 2 weeks. So it was a Friday morning in Melbourne. I was in the office. I was talking to our CEO, David, and I said, all right, I'm going to go back to this one. And the number, the 50,000, I can't remember exactly how much I offered. I think I asked for like 250,000 circa. And he come back to me with a really absurd number. So it was like, I actually can't remember what the sale price, but let's say for argument's sake, it was like 197,700, right? And I'm like, that kind of threw me a little bit. I'm like, okay. So I was still doubting that, obviously the deal was going to happen because I was like, just hit all the, the markers of, not someone leading you on. So that's fine. I make them jump through extra hoops, provide X, provide Y, just trying to offer them an out, right? To say, well, stop wasting my time. Cool. So they said to me, they wired the money. I was in the office with David. We're having a beer. It was at the end of the day, and he said, yeah, we do like beer at above.com. Or that too. The 2 A's there. But yeah, and then literally, bank wire can take 3 to 5 business days to land. I get a phone call at 10:30 in the morning on the next Monday. The wire had landed, and it blew my mind. It wasn't until then I actually worked out it was the president of El Salvador and his brother that bought the name, which was pretty cool.
And the deal went ahead. It was done. Oh, congratulations. And I mean, for me, I'm not going to say craziest sale as such, but craziest way I managed to end up resulting with a sale. So as many of you may know, maybe some of you don't, I do the traditional marketing, traditional outbounding, excuse me. I do the traditional outbounding. I send thousands of emails. I make hundreds of phone calls. I'm doing daily social media marketing. But I've also found my own path in this industry. And I think it's always important not to necessarily follow the footsteps of those around you. That can help get some golden nuggets and absolutely get the advice, but ultimately find your own path to success. So skydiving. promoting domains was something that I did in November last year at another conference. 15,000 foot over the beautiful Dubai skyline, over the Palm in Dubai. I jumped out of a plane. We had a big Sedo flag that was flown over the Palm. And then I've done flying upside down in stunt planes, zip lining over rainforests, scuba diving with shipwrecks. At some point this year, maybe early next year, going to head to South Africa and cage dive with great white sharks, all whilst marketing, promoting, and ultimately selling domain names. And the skydive that I did was ended up being published in DN Journal. For you, I'm sure many of you know the DN Journal, but what I would consider the most respected and highly sought after news publication of domains in our industry. And he published the story about the skydive, the Sedo skydive that I participated in. And as a result of that, a buyer actually saw the skydive, went to my bio page and actually saw that pack.com, P-A-C-K, pack.com was actually one of the names that I was exclusively representing. So indirectly, because of the skydive, because of the marketing, because of the PR and publicity, he found pack.com for sale with me. And to kickstart the year off, we ended up having a negotiation for the name, and I sold it in the very beginning of January of this year for $600,000. So whilst not necessarily a crazy sale, it stemmed from a bit of a crazy stunt that resulted in a sale. And again, you've just got to find your own path to success and figure out the right path for you and your own personality to result in that success.
Yeah, 100% love stories like that. You know, and I've had other, you know, examples of, you know, traveling, you know, around Australia or even the UK when I've been on holidays, you know, meeting people. I'm a very much an extroverted person. Maybe not quite as extroverted as you, Mark, but that's not a, you know, just saying, uh, but when you talk to people, you learn about them. And I've sold names literally in a pub in Scotland or in Belfast. Literally happened last year when I was over taking my two young daughters to meet their Northern Irish grandmother. We're in Belfast and got talking to some people over a couple of shandies, you might call them. And got talking and they said, well, I was looking, you know, I've been understand the process or anything like that. Yeah. And literally said, well, something that I can potentially help you with. I can help you acquire it. And that's built, you know, essentially lifelong relationships there. And that's one thing I love about my job is I get to meet so many different people. I get to meet, you know, like, so as I said, so many different people, but build lifelong connections, relationships, and, you know, people who I would never have met unless I was doing something like this.
And I think that's one of the things, especially now we're all part of this conference. We've got people from every walk of life. We've got people from all different wealth backgrounds. We've got people from all knowledge backgrounds. And I'm not talking about race. I'm not talking about color. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about the community of domains. We are all one community from everywhere in the world. The domains industry is a borderless strategy. And I think that if you've got, as I said before, the passion, the patience, and the persistence to pursue that success, you can have that success. Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah. So how long have we got any more questions or, you know, anything that, you know, you guys, any further, something that might have come up since obviously we've, you know, answered the last question that you'd like some information on? Oh, yeah. Well, I'll just run you through essentially that. I've touched on this already. As you all know, I'm from above.com. So we're a domain business was built by a domainer. So David, our founder, he's been in the business for 30 plus years. So we offer 3% marketplace commission. That's, you know, if you want to manage your own leads, we can help you do that. It only changes the commission rate is if there's, as I said before, we have to manually change the ownership of the domain for you. Otherwise, you know, that's 10%. Otherwise, it's 3%. We're a cost price registrar. So whatever it costs us, that's what you pay. You know, and we are the best performing monetization service in market. So there's some really exciting things coming that I'd like to say more. I had a chat with our CEO this morning at 6 a.m. You know, obviously the time that I can actually speak to it, you know, when I'm traveling, and it's coming, but watch this space.
Thank you. And I'm going to revert back to the audience again. Hopefully we've got more hands going up than zero. is there any questions you would like to ask? And if not, no problem. Myself, Nathan, we're going to be obviously around here for the rest of the day. You're more than welcome to come to talk to me. I'm sure I can say on your behalf to talk to you as well. And I mean, please, it's always a pleasure. You know, in this industry, one thing I say is the internet never stops and neither does opportunity, whether it's Monday to Friday, Saturday or Sunday, whether it's a national holiday, whether it's any day in between. Success comes to those who go and find it. And if you are wondering, why isn't my domain selling? Why isn't my domain selling? I've got a great domain. Well, first of all, what are you doing to sell it? Are you just listing it on the right platforms? First of all, first step done, well done. But if that's all you're doing, there needs to be more because you need people to know it's existing. A lot of the companies that I sell these high-end oneword.com to, the 6 figures, the 7-figure sales, they're not looking to change their domain. They're not actively out there trying to say, I need a new domain name for my business. By going to them, by putting it in front of Insight in Mind, by putting it in Sight in Mind, now they can have a talk with their board of directors. Now they can say, oh, wow, I didn't even know that this name or that name was available. And now they can have the internal talks and get back to you. But if you don't go presenting it to people, they're never going to know it's available because most of the time, the success comes to those who are not even looking for it. They're the ones that end up buying it.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to add on that, I see it happen, you know, a lot on, you know, social media and the like, and you are one of the, you know, better, you know, outbound brokers. But one thing is, and you might be able to touch on this a little bit more, it's a little bit of a pet bugbear, is when you're looking to put your name in front of someone, make sure you know who you're sending it to. Because you've got 3 or 4 seconds to catch someone's attention. But if you're just blanket sending emails to, you know, to brokers, to, you know, random people who you think are other investors, that's not a good use of your time, for one, or their time. And it doesn't paint you necessarily in a really good light. So the big thing that what I'm trying to say here is it's just really, really important is know your end user who you want to sell the name to. That's, yeah.
So with that being said, I think again, I'll ask one final time. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. Jack? If you don't know Jack, well, where have you been? This is Jack from dn.com.
Okay, I have 3 easy questions. Ask you. How many years have you been? Question 2. What's the most expensive domain name you have ever sold? 3. When can you help me sell my first toilet domain name?
I like that last question. So for me, I have been in the industry just over 10 years. I actually originally began as, I moved from here. I was just down the road from where we are now. We're in Angel, Islington here for Domain Summit. I used to live in High Barnet, just on the northern line down the road. That's where I grew up. But I moved from England to America to South Florida, the Miami area 10 years ago. And I joined the domains industry working on the GTLD side of the industry. I was representing the .club domains registry 10 years ago and ended up becoming head of sales at .club. I then moved on into the .global registry, expanding my global horizons, and they got acquired by Affilius, so transitioned into Affilius. And I was actually overseeing at that point well over 1 million domain names at that time because Affilius they were the actual registry operator to 27 extensions. So I really learned the grassroots of outbounding, having to figure out how I could do such a vast outreach and get success because it's overwhelming. I mean, even a few hundred domains is overwhelming, never mind 1 million plus. So at that time, I figured out the best way to do a very wide net approach and then eventually narrow it down. Today, working with Sedo.com, very different because I'm focused on the ultra premium assets with my highest sales being into the 7 figures. I've done well into the 8 figures of sales, tens and tens of millions of dollars of total transactions. And when it comes to these ultra premium assets, you've got to be more targeted from the start. There's no wide net approach because there's only going to be a very minor handful of companies in the world that is going to have the need and the budget for a multi-million-dollar asset. So 10 years, Jack, tens of millions of dollars of sales. And yes, I'm sure that we can have our first success together for a two-letter.com. We'll speak in a minute.